Think about all the stuff around us. Things we use pretty much every day, like the grips on your bike, maybe your tabletop coating, even, faint smells in the air.
Yeah.
What often links these things that seem totally unrelated? Well, it's the basic chemical compounds, right? The building blocks.
Exactly. And if you want to figure out where those everyday products are going, what they'll be made of, how they might change, you really have to look at the markets for those base chemicals.
Which is precisely what we're doing today.
Right.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going deep into the global market for this really interesting chemical called isoprenol.
Isoprenol, yeah.
Not exactly a household name, maybe, but it's a key ingredient in a surprisingly huge range of products. We're talking rubber, plastics, flavors, fragrances, stuff we encounter all the time.
And our main guide for this is the Global Isoprenol Market Report 2025. It's a pretty comprehensive look.
Okay.
It analyzes the market size now, looks back a bit, but crucially, projects growth and pinpoints trends all the way out to 2033.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward then. We're pulling out the key insights from this report.
Yep.
We want to understand where the isoprenol market is headed, what that growth actually looks like over the next, 8-9 years, and what that means for different industries, and maybe ultimately what it could mean for you.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's get into it. What's the big picture? Where's the isoprenol market right now, and where's it going?
Well, the report points to a period of really significant expansion. For 2025, the global market is projected at USD 700 and 480 million.
Okay, substantial.
But here's the kicker. Driven by this rising demand for bio-based chemicals across, tons of industries.
Right, the green push.
Exactly. This market is expected to pretty much double by 2033. It's forecast to hit, get this, USD 366.12 million.
Wow, okay. That's more than just growth. That's a serious jump.
What does that look like year over year, consistently?
Yeah, we're looking at a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 8.50% between 2025 and 2033.
8.5%. Yeah, that's a strong, steady climb. It really highlights how isoprenol is becoming more important globally.
And you mentioned the driver is this demand for bio-based chemicals.
Right.
Why is that trend so powerful right now?
It's a huge global shift, really. Comes down to a much greater awareness around sustainability, environmental responsibility.
Sure.
And isoprenol fits right in because it can be derived from renewable resources. So industries are actively looking for greener alternatives to old school petrochemicals.
Makes sense.
And that quest for sustainability, it's basically a massive tailwind for isoprenol.
Got it. Okay, so that's the overall picture. Let's break it down by geography. How's this market spread around the world?
Right now, North America holds the biggest slice. Over 40% of the global market in 2025.
40%, okay.
Their market size is estimated at USD 2,767.60 million, and they're expected to grow at a CAGR of 7.3% through 2033.
So pretty healthy growth.
Definitely. And within North America, the U.S. is the giant, obviously. Yeah. USD 2,183.64 million in 2025, growing at 7.1%. Canada and Mexico are significant too. Canada's at 8.1% CAGR. Mexico at 7.8%. So solid growth across the board there.
So North America leads the pack for now.
Yeah.
What about Europe? What's their position?
Europe's also a major player. They hold over 30% of the market. That's about USD 2,169.20 million in 2025.
Okay, also substantial.
And their growth is pretty much tracking North America as a projected CAGR of 7.3% as well.
Interesting. Any specific countries standing out in Europe?
Yeah, the report highlights the UK, strong growth there, 8.1% CAGR, about 364 million USD market size in 2025. And Germany, a slightly larger market at 429.5 million, growing at 7.5%.
Okay, so North America and Europe are the big established players, but where's the most dynamic growth? Where's the real acceleration?
That would be the Asia-Pacific region.
APAC.
Their current share is smaller, around 23%, valued at USD 1795.20 million in 2025, but they have the highest projected CAGR by a significant margin. 11.3%.
11.3%. Okay, that is fast. What's driving that in APAC?
It's really fueled by those fast-growing economies across the region. China's a huge part of it, naturally. China's market is about 754 million USD in 2025, growing at 10.8%. But the real standout growth rate-wise, is India.
India.
Yeah, looking at a remarkable 13.2% CAGR. Their 2025 market size is smaller, around 180 million, but that growth rate is huge.
13%.
And the rest of APAC together is also showing strong growth, around 11.1%. This kind of acceleration in APAC, you could really shift things globally, manufacturing, supply chains, you name it.
So North America might have the biggest slice now, but it sounds like APAC is seriously catching up, maybe even set to overtake longer term.
That's definitely the trajectory the numbers suggest.
Fascinating. Okay, what about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa. How do they fit in?
So South America has just over 5% of the market,
Right.
about 284 million USD in 2025, growing at a healthy 8.9% CAGR. Brazil and Argentina are key there, both showing good growth rates, like 9.5% and 9.8% respectively. The Middle East is smaller, around 2% share, almost 300 million USD. But their growth is also strong, 9.0% CAGR. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are the main players, growing over 9%.
Right.
And Africa holds the smallest share currently, around 1%, roughly 165 million USD. Still, respectable growth projected at 8.2% CAGR. South Africa is the notable market there.
It's really interesting seeing those different speeds across the globe. Okay, let's switch gears slightly. The report segments the market by grade. What are these grades? Which ones matter most?
Right, so they break it down into standard grade, industrial grade, and regent grade. Currently, industrial grade has the biggest market share, and that makes sense, really. It's the grade used most in large-scale production. Think synthetic rubber, various plastics.
Right, the high-volume stuff.
Exactly. The sheer amount of those materials used globally drives that demand for industrial grade.
Makes sense. So what about the other two? Standard and Regent?
Well, regent grade, it's a smaller slice of the pie right now in terms of volume, but the report flags it as the fastest growing segment.
Ah, interesting. Why is that?
It's driven by the need for really high purity isoprenol in more specialized uses. Think research labs, the pharmaceutical industry, places where you need extreme precision and purity.
Got it. So industrial grade might have some acceptable wiggle room on purity, but Regent grade needs to be super clean.
Precisely. It goes through more purification. Standard grade is likely somewhere in between for applications needing decent quality, but maybe not the extreme purity of reagent.
Okay, different grades for different needs. Now, the report also looks at applications. How is isoprenol actually used? Where does it go?
Yeah, it acts as this fundamental sort of building block chemical for a whole range of things. The biggest single application right now is rubber synthesis, which, again, ties back to that dominant industrial grade share we just talked about.
Makes perfect sense. Tires, seals, all that.
Exactly. But interestingly, the fastest growing application segment is biofuel.
Biofuel. Okay, that connects back to the sustainability trend again.
It does. It suggests isoprenol might play a bigger part in how we, power things in the future, a sustainable fuel component.
That's a significant shift to watch. What are some of the other key uses?
Well, it's used quite a bit in flavors and fragrances. It helps create or stabilize scents in things we use every day.
Like perfume, lotions.
Exactly.
Wow.
Also used in agrochemicals, pesticides, herbicides, that sort of thing. In polymers, beyond just rubber. In pigments, so for color. And even as an oil additive to improve performance.
Wow, it really gets around.
It's incredibly versatile. That's the key.
It really is.
Yeah.
Almost invisible in the final thing you buy, but it's doing critical work behind the scenes in so many areas.
Okay.
Okay, the report also segments by end user. Who's actually buying all this isoprenol? Which industries?
The pharmaceutical sector is currently the biggest end user. They take the largest share.
Okay.
Isoprenol is crucial for synthesizing various active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs, like vitamin K2 production is one example given.
Right, so for making medicines.
Correct. However, mirroring that trend we saw in applications, the cosmetics and personal care sector is flagged as the fastest growing end user segment.
Ah, okay. So pharma uses the most now, but cosmetics and personal care are driving the future growth, like our lotions and perfumes again.
Exactly. The chemical properties of isoprenol make it really useful for formulating fragrances, lotions, creams, you name it.
Interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Other end users include the broader medicine industry beyond just pharma APIs, agriculture, and the paints and coatings sector, too. It just underlines how this chemical is increasingly part of everyday consumer goods.
It really does hit home when you realize something this fundamental is becoming more important in so many things we touch or use daily. Let's circle back to the drivers. We talked about the bio-based demand. What else is fueling this big growth spurt?
The report highlights a few key things. Besides that sustainability push, advancements in biomanufacturing tech are really important.
How so?
They're making isoprene production, especially the bio-based routes, more efficient, more cost-effective. That's crucial for scaling up.
Right, bringing down the green premium.
Exactly. Also, just the general expansion of big industries like automotive and packaging that directly boosts demand for rubber and therefore isoprene.
Makes sense. More cars, more packaging, more rubber needed.
Yep. Plus, its growing use in other synthetic rubbers and resins beyond just tires, and definitely its expanding role in pharma APIs and fragrances. It's like a perfect storm of factors pushing it forward.
So it's consumer preference, tech improvements, and growth in key downstream industries all working together. Are there any potential roadblocks, things that could slow this down, headwinds?
Yeah, the report does mention a couple of potential constraints. One big one is the production cost.
Oh, okay.
Making isoprene can be complex, needs specialized setups, and the price of raw materials, like isoprene itself, can fluctuate and add to the cost. It's not necessarily cheap to make.
Right.
And while isoprenol is often bio-based and seen as greener, the report notes that just general environmental regulations affecting the whole chemical industry could potentially have an impact, even indirectly.
Okay, so even a greener chemical still operates in that broader economic and regulatory world. That makes sense. What about key trends shaping the market going forward?
Two main trends really stand out in the report. First, that increasing demand for sustainable bio-based isoprenol, that's expected to just keep going, probably even accelerate.
Driven by consumers and regulation.
Yay. And second, we're likely to see even more applications pop up, especially in pharma and personal care, as people figure out more ways to use its properties.
So its future seems really tied to that whole global sustainability movement and just ongoing innovation. Okay, let's talk competition. Who are the companies actually making and selling this stuff? What's the market landscape like?
It's described as competitive. The major players are really focusing on boosting their bio-based production methods
Makes sense.
and using tech innovation to get an edge. We're also seeing a trend of companies partnering up with biotech firms.
Collaborating to develop better, maybe cheaper, greener production.
Exactly. Finding more cost-effective and sustainable ways to make isoprenol.
Can you name a few of the key companies involved, just to get a sense of who's in this space?
Sure. The report lists several big names. Jiangsu Yaban Biological Technology, Kanika Corporation, Lonza Group, Simrise AG, BASF SE.
Yeah.
There are others too.
Okay, so a mix of chemical giants and maybe some more specialized players.
Yeah, it shows it's a global market with significant players involved. The report doesn't rank them, but lists them as key participants.
Got it. Gives us a good feel for the dynamics.
Yeah.
Well, we have definitely taken a deep dive into this Global Isoprenol Market Report 2025. Let's try and boil it down. What are the absolute key takeaways for you listening?
I think the main thing is the really significant growth expected for isoprenol between now and 2033. It's poised to almost double in market size.
Driven by that green shift.
Primarily, yes, driven by that increasing demand for sustainable bio-based chemicals, but also its expanding use across so many different areas, rubber, pharma, fragrances.
Yeah.
And importantly, keep an eye on the Asia-Pacific region. That's where the fastest growth is forecast, which could really change the global market map.
Okay, so we set out to extract the core insights, and I think we've done that. Hopefully giving you a much clearer picture of where this kind of fundamental chemical is heading.
Indeed. And it just shows how connected everything is, doesn't it? A market for one specific chemical can ripple out and affect so many everyday products we all use.
Absolutely. And maybe that's the final thought to leave you with. Consider the things you use every day. Tires, lotions, maybe even some plastics or coatings. Think about how the rising demand for chemicals like isoprenol, especially the bio-based kind, might shape their future. How they're made, their cost, their sustainability footprint.
Yeah, and what other bio-based chemicals might be on a similar path? What could that wider shift mean for our world?
Exactly. Something to ponder until our next deep dive.